Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So February may have been a short month, but it was a pretty eventful month on the legal front. Here's a short recap of the legal stories for the month that was February 2022. The month started with former Vice President Mike Pence breaking from Donald Trump, saying, and I quote, "Donald Trump is wrong." And the month ended with a murderous dictator launching an illegal war of aggression, forever cementing his place in history as a war criminal. Accountability must come for Vladimir Putin, because justice matters. So it seems like now, with each revelation damaging to Donald Trump, comes an almost equally damaging Trump outburst. Donald, your desperation is showing. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So let's talk about a tale of two witnesses. Two witnesses who recently appeared before the House Select Committee. The first, Greg Jacob, who Chairman Benny Thompson referred to as, quote, a great patriot. The second, Jeffrey Clark, who no one will ever accuse of being a great patriot. You know why no one will ever accuse Jeffrey Clark of being a great patriot? Because justice matters. So January was an interesting month on the justice front. It started with public admissions of crime by Peter Navarro, and it ended with public admissions of crime by Donald Trump. So friends, we're still moving in the direction of justice, but nobody can say we're getting there fast. Here's a brief recap of the legal stories for the month that was January 2022. So let's talk about former high DOJ official Jeffrey Clark pleading the Fifth more than 100 times in his appearance before the House Select Committee. And then let's take on what happens next. Where do the House Select Committee and the Department of Justice go from here? Because justice matters. So in a pretty surprising and entirely unexpected moment of truth and candor, Mike Pence said Donald Trump is wrong about overturning the election. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So the Republican Party has now officially taken the position that a violent attack on the U.S. Capitol designed to stop the certification of a presidential election is, quote, legitimate political discourse, close quote. What are the legal implications of that Orwellian position? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So the last few days have given us Donald Trump's document destruction jamboree, Mike Pence stepping up, even if only a little, and the continued implosion of the Republican Party. All signs that things are trending in the right direction. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So nearly 5 years ago now, Donald Trump obstructed justice 10 times over. And now we're bumping up against a little something called the statute of limitations. We are literally in a countdown to justice. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So in the last day or two, there have been some pretty compelling indications that Donald Trump's political ship is about to hit the rocks. Let's talk about that. because justice matters. So now we've learned that Donald Trump may have committed more federal crimes by destroying documents and removing classified materials and whisking them away to Mar-a-Lago. But I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, will it matter? It certainly should, because justice matters. 2 federal government employees caught red-handed with classified materials. Think they're enjoying equal justice? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So we know that Trump and company have committed all kinds of crimes, and yet we can't seem to wrestle an indictment out of the Department of Justice. What gives? Let's talk about that, because justice matters.
So let's talk about President Biden's decision to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court, Ted Cruz's outrage, and a true story about hope. Because justice matters.
So it's being reported that Rudy Giuliani is discussing possible cooperation with the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Really? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Okay, so I have to admit, I was looking for some good news on the justice front today, and I think I may have found some in something that Congressman Jamie Raskin, a member of the House Select Committee, said about Donald Trump. Let's talk about that, because justice matters.
To all of our Team Justice friends, we have somebody who is joining us today. Let me introduce my friend, Stephen Van Zandt. Stephen, thank you for being with us on Justice Matters.
Good to see you, Glenn.
So, with virtually all of the stories breaking against Donald Trump these days, I have 2 questions. 1, when can we expect to see Donald Trump indicted for any of his crimes? And 2, how can we go about balancing our frustration with patience? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So a judge in New York just spit out a whole lot of truth about the misdeeds of Trump and company. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So friends, for Donald Trump, the legal developments of the past few days are crushing. There's no 2 ways about it. There are bad times ahead for Donald Trump. Let's talk about that, because justice matters.
That was racial discrimination, government sanctioned racial discrimination. That's what you want to go back to with the framers' intent, really?
Glenn, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not even sure they would deny it.
So we're all familiar with the famous Shakespeare line, "To be or not to be, that is the question." Slight variation on that. To charge or not to charge Donald Trump, that is not a difficult question, because justice matters. So once Donald Trump is indicted, let's just take that in for a minute. Once indicted, what challenges lie ahead on the jury selection front? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So in some of the recent court rulings against Donald Trump, something of a roadmap is emerging. A roadmap of how the Department of Justice can and should go about indicting Donald Trump for the insurrection. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So sometimes on the justice front, it's 2 steps up and 1 step back. Today, it was a step back. But we've got to keep moving, we've got to keep fighting, because justice matters. So let's talk about the legal developments in recent days that have visited Donald Trump. Now, admittedly, one of those developments was not great on the justice front. But several legal developments did not go Donald Trump's way. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So there's more reporting on the developing story out of the New York District Attorney's Office after the two top prosecutors in the Trump Organization criminal case abruptly resigned. We now have the DA announcing that there is a new top prosecutor on that case, and her name is Susan Hoffinger. So in fairness, let's look at the background, the experience, the qualifications of Miss Hoffinger to head up this most consequential prosecutorial team. Because justice matters.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think it's time for Artists Against American Apartheid? Because it sure looks like that's the way we're going at this rate.
Well, if I thought it would do any good, I would be tempted to do it. But we're in a different place right now.
So it's not exactly breaking news that Donald Trump has committed crimes in violation of the laws of the United States. So in a very real sense, the people of the United States are victims of Donald Trump's crimes. Do crime victims have any rights? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So today is day number 1 of trial number 1 involving a defendant who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Let's talk about how jury selection is going and what we can expect this trial to look like. Because justice matters.